John King runs a show on CNN that nobody watches, and he's usually surrounded by a bunch of leftists, usually women, who have no idea what the hell they're talking about. And so what John King did today, which is typical of the media generally, and particularly CNN, is he took my radio program from yesterday, where all of you were listening, where I spent at least 30 minutes, maybe 50 minutes, discussing the National Emergencies Act, the intricacies of the Act, the intricacies of the Constitution, a very thoughtful discussion we had, and then chopped it to bits, and then commented on it. Because you see, you have to hate Trump, you have to oppose Trump. So even if I make an independent analysis with respect to the National Emergencies Act of 1976, an independent analysis of the constitutional provisions that relate, even if I do that, having never talked to the president about this, no pressure from anybody, I'm not running for anything. I've disagreed with the president here and there, although more and more I agree with him because he's quite conservative. So there's no ulterior motive, no sellout, none of that going on. But CNN has a narrative. They hate Trump. And if you don't hate Trump, you're a sellout. And if you don't hate Trump, all of a sudden you're not a constitutional conservative. You may not even be a Republican. This is supposed to be a news outlet, CNN. It's absolutely useless. So I want you to listen to this for a few minutes, just a few minutes, and then I will unravel it. This is CNN from today. Go ahead.
We all know if they voted their principle, the number would be a lot higher because they just think it's an overreach by the executive branch.
Yeah, the reason they're doing this isn't because they want to vote against his signature issue. It's because in order to help him, they have to kill themselves. What's the point?
So let's stop. So this idiot is with Bloomberg. Doesn't know a damn thing. But they're all giddy because they know there's going to be about a dozen Republicans in the Senate voting against Trump. And you heard what King said. If they were actually voting their principles, there'd be more. Go ahead.
If you have no powers as a senator. And so beyond the Constitution.
Why would you have no powers as a senator? The National Emergencies Act, ladies and gentlemen, doesn't eliminate Congress. It doesn't eliminate the role of Congress. In certain areas, the president has the authority to act in an emergency. Congress has the authority to stop him if they have enough votes. Go ahead.
It's like the actual real political question. I mean, every time that he asks them to do something to help him that involves giving away their own power, they're weakening their own leverage for the next negotiation or the next debate. And, you know, and he says the numbers don't matter, but of course the numbers matter, because if it's 4 Republicans who do this, then they look like aberrations, and he can give them a nickname and maybe primary one of them. But if it's 14 or 12 or anywhere close
this
to 20.
This has to be one of the dumbest programs on TV. With this fool rambling on. This has to be one of the dumbest. It's a news show. Or is it opinion? We don't know. But we haven't gotten to the good part yet. Go ahead.
Much bigger problem. What's he going to do? Go after some of them or not others? There are going to be a couple of people on that list who the White House would love to have primaries against, and a couple that the White House can look the other way and say, what can we do? But, you know, big number is much
to the point about how much the president has transformed.
Now, here we go. Here we go. Put up the volume.
Some of it, maybe permanently, some of it just out of fear of crossing him, is out there. Is, remember, this is a little talk radio sample here. When President Obama used executive actions like this, he was the imperial president.
Let's stop. President Obama, when he used executive actions like this, nobody even noticed. It was never discussed. The National Emergencies Act. When President Obama governed by presidential fiat, such as with DACA, where there was no statutory or constitutional basis whatsoever, that's when we jumped. Or when the president violated the treaty clause of the Constitution with his Iran deal, that's when we jumped. Had nothing to do with the National Emergencies Act, which he used multiple times, which we never said a word about. Go ahead.
Trying to destroy the Constitution. He was a horrible, horrible president. When Donald Trump does it, according to Mark Levin, it's great.
Some of these people dress up as constitutional conservatives, and some of them claim they're concerned about separation of powers. He's trying to secure the border. If Congress won't go along, too damn bad. Now stop right there. We'll get to more of this. Is that what I said yesterday? Take 2 sentences out of what was 30, 40, 50 minutes of a rather cerebral discussion? Probably bored half of you? Is that what I said? The president doesn't get his way? Too bad for Congress. Just do what you need to do, Mr. President. Is that what I said yesterday? That doesn't take 30, 40, 50 minutes. That's not what I said yesterday. Taking 2 sentences to push the CNN narrative on how Donald Trump is fascistic, on how he's destroyed the conservative movement, destroyed Republicans. These are never Trumpers dressed up as journalists. These are leftists dressed up as journalists, pushing a lie. It's called propaganda. CNN's very good at it. They've gotten very good at it. That's why they just got their ass sued for $275 million. But you people, you Levinites, you listen to this program. You're more loyal to me than you are to any other show. You listen to this program. You know that's not what I said. Well, those are your words. Okay, I can say jerk, and then an hour later say what? Frank? And they say, look, he called Frank a jerk. That's called propaganda, what the media are doing. That's what the Soviets used to do. That's what the Russians do. That's what the Red Chinese do. To make you sound like you're saying something that you certainly haven't meant or said. I didn't say the president can just roll Congress. I said here, he can take a stand and do what he needs to do. In this instance, whether Congress likes it or not, because Congress already gave him the authority. Now, listen to the analysis. Go ahead. Some do and some don't.
There was a day when Mark Levin was concerned about that constitutional separation of powers, but I guess it was because there was a Democrat in the White House.
Shockingly enough.
There's an intellectual consistency that gets dropped.
Absolute jackass. An intellectual consistency that gets dropped. Now, these 12 senators, they would smile at this because they want their votes to be justified. They're really no better than John King when it comes to this. Their analysis is flawed. Their thinking is flawed. And I'm not attacking them personally, just my opinion. But I remain consistent on this issue of the Constitution, separation of powers, the balance of powers, and so forth, and I will remain consistent. And John King and the others don't give a damn about it. They don't even comprehend it. They have a narrative and they're pushing it. They have a narrative and they're pushing it. So if a Democrat's in the White House, Mark Levin would say, no, that's an imperial president, but it's a Republican, and that's the only distinction he's made. For 6 weeks I've been talking about this. My comments are all over the Internet. I post them myself. We take our radio broadcast, and an hour later, they're on our website, marklevinshow.com. You can listen to them. They pull the same stunt over and over and over again. Whether it's a 16-year-old kid wearing a MAGA hat, whether it's me, whether it's anybody else.